Hey folks, it's David Bethune from the Mimics Company with another Miki Masterclass, Getting Started with Miki. Today we're going to look at how you create a wiki from scratch. Along the way, we'll use the outline style of navigation to make it easy for others to get around inside your new content. So let's get started. Okay, here we are at our new wiki homepage with no content and no special branding. Now, before we do anything about adding content, we're going to put together some navigation, and I'll show you why in a minute. But we can take care of this branding right away. So I'm going to click on Administration up here at the top, and then on General over here on the left. So I'm going to make my new wiki about recipes. Now, I'm not doing that because I think that Miki is a great recipe holder. There's much better recipe software out there. I would recommend Paprika if you really want recipe software. But a lot of business processes and other processes kind of look like recipes. So we're going to use the recipe as an example of how you can put content, navigation, and formatting in your new wiki. I'm going to change my title to Chef Miki, and I'm going to upload a new logo from my disk. Now, this process I'm going to show you for uploading a graphic is exactly the same for all the graphics that you're going to use throughout your wiki, for pictures, diagrams, videos, etc. Anything that you want to add from the outside world to your wiki is going to come in through a dialog that looks just like this. So let's go through how to get a picture in here. I'm going to click on this icon, then I'm going to click Browse. And I'm already in the folder that I want to be in, and I'm going to choose this chef icon here and click Open. The next step is to upload and wait for the upload to finish, and then you'll see the new file over here in your list of assets or pictures. Last step is to click on that new file and then click Insert. Okay, so that works if you're putting a picture inside a page of your wiki as well. But for now, we've used that to change our icon and our branding for our site if I just click Apply right here. Next, I'm going to click Exit, go have a look at my homepage again to see my new branding. Okay, so the next thing we're going to add to this wiki is some navigation over here on the left, and that's so that people can get to the pages that we're about to write. So I'm going to click Administration and then Navigation. Now there's a couple different ways you can navigate your wiki. I want you to put it on static navigation for now. That basically means that you're going to control the navigation through this section over here. The first thing I want to add is a link to my famous chocolate chip cookies. So I'm going to click Add and then Link, and in the label box I'm going to type David's Famous Cookies. Now, one cool thing you can add to your links, and I recommend that you do, is one of these icons from these icon libraries, and there are quite a few, thousands in each of these libraries. I'm going to choose the material design icons today, and when the search box comes up, I'm going to click in it and type cookie. Pick one out that I like. I see this first one here is just fine, and it says the name is cookie. So to add it to my navigation, I'm going to go back over to my wiki, and we have to do a little bit of a trick. In this icon box, we're going to leave the MDI part, take the rest away, and put in whatever we found on the list, in this case, cookie. And you'll see that I get my custom icon over here on my link. The next thing I'm going to do is click Apply to make sure that gets added to the navigation, and then Exit to go check out the real homepage. And I can see David's Famous Cookies is there, but it doesn't go anywhere if I click it. Next thing we need to do is put a link onto this navigation item. So I'm going to go back in here to the navigation section and click on David's Famous Cookies. And you'll see down here this section that says target type is set on home. We're going to change that to page and then click select page to pick where this item should go when someone clicks it. Now, right now, this doesn't show any pages in here because we haven't made any yet. So we're going to make our first page by making up a name of a page down here. Now, with recipe cards and many other things, it's important to keep them organized by groups or folders or tabs or dividers or however you want to think of it. In the case of recipes, we should probably make some folders for desserts and put my cookie recipe in here. Now on the name, I want you to use dashes instead of spaces. So we're going to put David's famous, gotta have famous in there, cookies. Okay, that's all we have to do, and click select. Now, when I go back up here to the top and click apply and then exit again, I can see that David's Famous Cookies is linked somewhere. And if I click that link, I get a chance to create the page because it doesn't exist. So I'm going to click create page here, and let's look at what it's like to create your first page. When you create a new page, you have a couple of different ways to get started. You can use a WYSIWYG style editor like a word processor, or start from another page, which we call a template, and we're not going to talk about either of those options in this video. For new projects, I really recommend you start with Markdown. The reason for that is that Markdown makes it very easy to add special formatting to your pages and to copy and paste that formatting from page to page, which is something you're going to do a lot. Okay, when we first make a page, we need to choose a name and a short description. So this page, the name is obviously David's Famous. Let's go ahead and put chocolate chip in there. Cookies. And the reason they're so great is that these cookies have only 3 ingredients and unlimited flexibility in the kind of add-ins you like. Now, down here we see the path, the folder and file name that we gave, or page name that we gave to this page when we created it a few minutes ago. If you're into tagging things, you can do that. That's completely optional. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And here's my page. Now, the first thing I want to do before I type anything is just go ahead and click Create. And look at this page, and it looks a lot like the home page that we have. There's a home page. There's nothing on it but a header. And here's David's Famous Cookies. The only difference is this has the header that I just typed as part of the page description. And here's that header area and content area ready for us to edit. Down here in the corner is an edit button. And this is live anytime that you have edit permission. So let's go ahead and add something more than an empty file here to my header. Now, what I like to do, and you don't have to do this, but I like to put the title up here again. And I also kind of like to write a little introductory paragraph up here. These cookies are easy to make because they only have 3 ingredients. They're very popular at parties, so be sure to make several varieties. Varieties. There we go. Now, rather than make you sit through my bad typing, I'm going to go ahead and paste in one that I made earlier, like they say on the cooking shows. Then we'll look at how this recipe came together as a wiki page. Okay, so here's one I made earlier. I've always wanted to say that. We're looking at the markup editor on the left and the preview on the right. And this is a feature of your Miki. So let's take a look at how these things relate to each other. First of all, as I click around here on the left, you're going to see the preview scroll to the thing that I've clicked on. And that's even more obvious when it's a longer page. In this case, I want to point out how we got a couple of these cool things in here. So the header is created with this pound sign, and the number of pound signs that you put on here shows the size of the header in kind of the reverse order. Header 1 is bigger, like in an outline, which is why we call this outline style. And header 2 is smaller. You can see it gets smaller over here. And header 3 is smaller than that. Okay, I'm going to make this nice and big, David's Famous Cookies. I'll show you why in a minute and about how these show up on a table of contents. This is just some normal text that comes after that headline. Now in here, I've included an image. How did I do that? Well, I click on that same Insert Assets icon that we found when we were putting an icon on our Miki, and I get the same dialog box where I can browse to a picture and upload it. So I already uploaded that image of the Duncan Hines box, which, by the way, is the secret to the whole thing, is a cake mix. So that's a good picture to put in here for now. Eventually, if I bake some of these to put into this recipe, I can replace that with that picture very easily. The next thing I have is a normal list here, kind of like a bulleted list. Doesn't matter what order these items go in. All you have to do is write a dash. You have to put a space after the dash. That's really important. And then the item. And then you get a nice formatted list like this out on the other side. The next little thing we did here is show you in this box what's called an info box. We're pulling out this important information with a green background and a checkbox. And the important information is that in addition to the 3 ingredients, you can add up to 2 cups of your favorite mix-in. So you could have 6 ingredients. And this is the best thing about these, by the way. If you make these, this is a real recipe of mine, and it is very popular. Try them with different kinds of cake mix combinations and different kinds of candy and nuts and things that you like in there. Make several different kinds. It's really cool. So we pulled that out using what's called an info box. There's 2 ways to do that. One is to write the box starting with these greater than characters and ending with a tag like this that says is success, which makes a green one, or is warning, which makes a yellow one. Now, if that's a lot to take on at once, you can also just pull down this info box tool from the toolbar, and it will make one for you. If I were going to make another one in here about something that was really bad, like a dangerous one, it will make the box for me, and it doesn't show up on the preview until I start typing something in here. But I'm going to type, "Don't do this," and you'll see right away the preview updates to show my new scary info box, okay? We don't need that in there. And in fact, this is the most basic version of the recipe. We could certainly add other things in there, other suggestions, pictures, etc. But with a wiki, it's important to get down the basics when you have them. You can always evolve and improve it over time. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And I'm going to close the editor and go back to the normal view. So this is the view that someone else would see if they were just editing or just browsing the wiki without being an editor. If you navigated over here from the home page and click David's Famous Cookies, that's where you're going to wind up. Now, the editor has made a table of contents out of the headings that we put in. So let's go ahead, in anticipation of writing some new variations in there, put in some variations. Let's call these variation ideas. Well, this variation sounds like a programmer, doesn't it? Let's call them mix-in ideas. And let's give a list of some of the things that we talked about. Like, I know for a good one that yellow cake mix and fancy chocolate chips is great. You can try an orange cake mix with walnuts. You can do a white cake mix and peppermint. Or you can do a white chocolate cake mix and macadamia. So there's just a few macadamia, just a few alternatives. Now, one thing I didn't mention is that this list in between here has numbers in it, but they're all the same number. I wrote 1 dot, and you have to put a space, for each one of the items. The reason for that is they're numbered automatically. If I write 1 dot and something else, it's going to take over that 3 position here. And if I take it away, they're all still numbered correctly. All right. Now, you might say that you needed to restart the list somewhere later. For example, after this warning, if I want to continue the list with item 5, which is let them cool on a rack for 10 minutes afterwards, I can start that list with 5. Allowed to cool on a rack for 10 minutes. Any items after that, I still write 1. Enjoy. So this is another example of editing and adding to my list over time. Let's save this and close it and look at how this has affected the table of contents. So now I have the cookies and the mix-in ideas, which are clickable links on my table of contents. Back at the home page, all this food talk is making me hungry. I can think of another recipe I want to add to the wiki. Let's use the same technique as before. Add it to the navigation. So I'll click Administration and then Navigation. Now, this recipe is a chicken dish, and that belongs in a separate section from cookies. So let's add a header and separate out the desserts. And then drag the cookies under desserts. And I'm going to go ahead and add a new section for my chicken dish. So I'm going to click Add Header and call this one Entrees, and then drag it up to the top. Now, my new chicken dish is actually from Julia Child. It's called Suprême de Volaille or Chicken Supreme. And I'm going to pick out an icon for it with the Material Design Icons reference. Don't expect a lot of great icons for chicken in here. It's not difficult for you to add your own icon sets or graphics to your wiki to customize this even further. But we're going to go ahead and use their chicken leg for now. And here it is. It's called Food-Drumstick. So I'm going to go back to my editor here and change this title to MDI-Food-Drumstick. And there's the chicken leg. I'm going to drag it up under Entrees. Now, while I'm here on the chicken leg, let's go ahead and make a link for it. So I'll go down to Target Type and choose Page, click Select Page, and I can see that my desserts folder and page are now in there. And if I were to click those, we could link to desserts and David's Famous Cookies. But I don't want to do that. I'm going to type a new name to create a new page the first time someone clicks this link. So let's make a new folder for Entrees and call this one Chicken-Supreme and click Select. There we can confirm the name there. I'm going to click Apply up here and exit the admin area, and I should have those two on my navigation. Okay, this is quite a bit more complicated recipe, as you might expect from Julia Child. So I'm going to show you how I can copy and paste the pieces out of another application, in this case Paprika, and you can reuse them into your wiki. We'll take the various special sections and pieces and parts here and repurpose them as Miki special formatting. All right, first thing I want to do is go in here and get to my editing box so that I can take the actual basic text. So the most important thing about this is the name of the recipe, and I'm just going to copy that and paste that over into my header section in the wiki. The next thing I'll do is take the first little piece of my notes down here and put that underneath. Actually, I don't see anything in here that really belongs in there. So I'm just going to leave this section out for now and go right into my ingredient list. Before I do that, why don't I make a headline called Ingredients? And that's the second level headline, the two pound signs there. And I'll take this ingredient section out and copy it and just paste it right under here. Okay, looks pretty good. The next thing I'm going to do is take the directions, and we'll use a similar technique. I'll do pound directions, and I'm just going to copy out of my directions and paste right under there. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is take my notes section, do the exact same thing, notes, and I will cut that out or copy this section out here. Oops, I didn't mean to drag it. I'll take all that out of there and paste that under here. All right, that'll at least give us a rough cut at our recipe. Let's go ahead and click Create and see what our new page looks like. So, for an initial take of the recipe that was just cut and pasted from somewhere else, it looks pretty good. You can see our headlines have come through here. They've also built a table of contents for us on the left. Bold and italic have come through because Paprika happens to use Markdown, but even if it didn't, your text would still come through and you can add those easily later. There's a couple things I see here that I'd like to add. Let's put in a picture. So I'm going to go edit this page. And I think the picture should be right under the title. I'm going to add some blank space over here and click Insert Assets and Browse. And I already have a good picture of this dish from my own kitchen in this folder. And I'll click Upload here, wait while it uploads. Then I'll see it over here, click it, and insert to get the picture to show up here. Now, this particular picture is very large and eats the entire page, and maybe I don't want it to be that large. I can use a little trick on here to change the size. I'm going to write equals X and the size that I want it to be. Let's say I want it to be about 500 pixels wide, and you'll see it only takes up 500 pixels. Okay, so there's my homemade chicken supreme. The other thing I'd like to put on here is that this is definitely a 5-star dish. Let's put some 5-star icons in here. By the way, all these media tricks and icons and buttons and things that I'll show you in these masterclass videos are documented in our user's guide, and you can copy them and use our templates to get started. So I'm going to put an icon in here from the MDI set, and I'm going to use the icon for a star, and I want the color of it to be this kind of orangey yellow. And there's my, sorry, this has to have 2 dashes. There's my 1 star. So to make this a 5-star dish, all I have to do is copy and paste this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and it's a 5-star dish. And I'll also put a little quote section in here. Let's pull down a block quote, info block, and I'll write the most complicated dish I've ever made, and add 1 more line to it and my little signature. And now the beginning of that is beginning to look a lot better. We could give some attribution to Julia Child over here because this is her recipe. And let's make that italic by selecting that and choosing italic from here. All right, so there's our chicken supreme. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and we have a second completed recipe in our wiki. Okay, let's get these recipes onto the homepage and get this show on the road. I say that because it's important to start sharing your wiki content early, even if it's only 1 or 2 pages. People who come back later will see the new content that you've developed since you sent the link. So I'm going to edit the homepage here, and first of all, put a nice welcome message into it. Now I'd like to add a picture. If I had a great picture of Chef Miki, I'd use it, but I don't, so I'll just use the same graphic I had from before. And I'm going to use the same trick to make it smaller. And I'm going to use another trick to wrap some text around it. Now the content here part appears wrapped around, and the picture is on the left. So I'm going to write here, welcome to my recipe book. Let me know which new ideas you'd like to see. And I'm going to write a special kind of a tag here to get the editor to move down below the graphic so I can write some text down here. And the first thing I'd like to do, and I like to use this technique a lot on home pages, is to have a list of links. So first we'll make a list by starting with the dash, and then we'll add a link. And I know I'm going to put those famous chocolate chip cookies on the list. And then I'm going to add another item with another dash and put the Suprême du Volaille on the list as well. Now this is pretty unexciting looking. So the first thing I want to do is change the name of the item. That's the purple part here inside the square brackets. Let's call these David's Famous Cookies. And we'll change the name of this item to Chicken Supreme with better capitalization. The last thing I'm going to do is add a special tag at the bottom of this to make it a links list, and then it gets some special formatting. You see the whole thing becomes a bar with nice highlighting here. And if I really want to go all the way, I can add some icons like we looked at before. To my links list. All right, so I fleshed out the home page a little bit using some of the techniques we looked at earlier, like second level headings here to separate desserts and entrees. There's also a little bit fancier version of the links list that has descriptions for each link. Speaking of lists of links, when you find that you have too many lists in a certain category like desserts that are taking over the navigation or taking over your home page, think about making a section page for them and linking to that in the navigation instead. We could put all the cookie recipes here rather than having individual recipes in the navigation. So I've started that process already. Here's the recipe we already have. Here I've written a link to another cookie recipe that I want to put in the future and I haven't gotten around to yet. It's red because it doesn't exist. If I click it, I'll have a chance to create it. I'm not going to do that right now. But what I am going to do is add a picture here using a technique that you can use to take a picture from the internet when you don't have one that really fits the page on your own. So I'm going to edit this page and decide where I want the picture, and I want it to be right here. And before I start to do anything about putting the picture in, let's go find a picture on the internet that I want to use. A great place for pictures that you can use legally and free for your own projects is Wikipedia. So I'm just going to put cookie in here and click on this great chocolate chip cookie picture and right click it and choose copy image location. Now it's important that you choose copy image location and not copy image. Once I've done that, I can get out of Wikipedia and go over here to my editor and choose insert assets. I'm going to click Browse, and it doesn't really matter what folder that I'm in because I'm going to paste the link that I got from Wikipedia. You'll see that has an unusual name over here. I'm going to click Upload to upload that file and wait for it to appear in my list of assets. Now, if I want to, I can click on these three dots and rename that to something that makes more sense, like cookies. And click rename and then insert, and there's the picture from the internet in my wiki. Now I'll use the same trick here as before to make this a little bit smaller and more reasonable for this page. So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this Miki Masterclass. There are examples of everything I've shown you in your user's guide, as well as links to other Masterclass videos. Thanks again for your time.